Hey everyone, welcome back to Installation 00. Today we continue with part 2 of our 5-part series, looking at the augmentations of the respective Spartan classes to find out how the traits of the 3 different classes stack up against one another. We've previously covered the nerve augmentations given to the Spartans and ascertained based on the benefits and risks that the Spartan 4 augmentation is the safest, but with diminished results. The Spartan 2 has the implied potential to be significantly more powerful than the other augmentations given compounding effects, but that all in all, the Spartan 3 nerve augmentation gives the best trade-off between raw power and zero risk, even if the long-term results may fall short of the Spartan 2's ever-escalating power curve. As before, we'll look at the 3 respective augmentations from the respective classes, referencing the law of each, and then compare and contrast them at the end. And again, the best place to start is with the Titans. The Spartan 2s received muscular enhancement injections, although it's worth noting that this augmentation is performed in addition to the catalytic thyroid implant, which uses human growth hormone to boost skeletal and muscle growth ahead of the full augmentation sets. The description of this augmentation is listed in The Fall of Reach, with some expansive information available in Halsey's journal, and is as follows. In addition to the growth hormone catalyst, a protein complex is injected intramuscularly that targets the muscle's intracellular molecular machinery to help increase muscle strength and endurance. These injections target the muscle's molecules, increasing the density of the connective tissues and fibers, the more visible result being the muscles quivering and contorting over one another, making connecting tendons stronger and decreasing lactase recovery time. Risks. 5% of test subjects experience a fatal cardiac volume increase. From this we can deduce that these injections contain a protein complex and is injected intramuscularly that specifically boosts the intracellular structures of the muscle, leading to greater strength, endurance and overall density of muscle and connective tissues. This can only be achieved by overwriting the GDF8 protein, otherwise known as myostatin. This protein acts upon the muscle cells and inhibits myogenesis, keeping muscle tissues limited to a certain size. Overwriting this protein is done using follistatin. This is the inhibitor of myostatin, thereby removing the protein that inhibits muscle tissue development. The obvious effect is that muscles grow significantly larger and more powerful than in a normal human, often exhibiting enlargement of the muscle fibers and occasionally duplication of the muscle fibers, adding to overall muscle density. The Spartan would be capable of feats of strength and endurance far larger and longer than normal. Spartans were able to achieve and maintain a higher level of functional strength and endurance than even lifelong Olympically trained athletes or powerlifters, and were able to recover from fatigue significantly faster than even the fittest of unaugmented personnel. The feeling of the muscle injections and thyroid implant together are said to produce feelings of extraordinary pain, as if the Spartan's veins had been injected with napalm, with sensations of pulsating like the veins are being torn from the skin. The body feels like it is on fire, and feeling like shattered glass is being worked into the skin. 5% of the subjects would experience a fatal cardiac volume increase, basically meaning that their heart was incapable of keeping up with the demand of blood the body now needed and simply failed. The long-term effect of this augmentation is that Spartan 2s were able to lift 3 times their body weight immediately following augmentation, but that their body weight was also approximately double the average for their height. Spartan 2s towered at, on average, 7 foot or 213 centimeters. The average healthy weight for a person of this height, based on the body mass index, would be anywhere between 85 and 120 kilograms. So the Spartans were more likely between 170 and 240 kilograms. I'd personally argue, given their physical condition, their profession, being soldiers above all else, their exceptional genetics and the other augmentations, they most definitely fell towards the upper end of that weight category. So 3 times their body weight means at 14 years old, immediately following the highly invasive augmentation sets, the Spartans could lift up to 720 kilograms, or on the way to 3/4 of a metric ton. It was also very clearly stated that there were compounding effects from receiving the augmentations all at once, causing them to be more powerful and that with continued acclimation and growth they would only get stronger. Moving on now to the Spartan 3s, who have an innovation of the augmentation given to the Spartan 2s. The 88005, MX77, or the fibroid muscular protein complex drug is administered to increase the density of an individual's muscles, greatly enhancing physical strength. An assessment of the terminology used in the description of the drug reveals the mechanism behind how this particular drug achieves the desired results. Fibroids are non-cancerous growths that are made up of muscle and fibrous tissue. In normal medical instances, they are undesirable and have to be monitored periodically, or even have medical intervention to treat or remove. It is evident that this drug is designed to induce a similar mechanism to fibroid formation, but in a more controlled manner and with more desirable results. As explained above, fibroids are growths of muscle and fibrous tissue. The drug uses this otherwise abnormal level of tissue growth to its advantage by inducing the formation of muscle tissue on skeletal muscles in a highly moderated way, while also providing the new growth with a sophisticated protein complex to fully facilitate the muscular growth. The exact results state that the Spartan 3s have the strength of 3 normal soldiers. This is sufficiently vague that it makes it difficult to put an exact number on it. Add to this the expansive variance in statistical analysis of ideal strength for soldiers and literally thousands of case studies on the subject, it muddies the water significantly. That being said, of the studies I have personally researched for this video, I found that on average a soldier should be somewhere between being able to lift between 125 and 200% of their body weight, which for an average height and ideal weight is between 100 and 160 kilograms. Again, as with the 2s, we should expect the 3s to be at the higher end of the strength to weight curve for BMI. This means at the strength of 3 soldiers, they should be able to lift up to around 480 kilograms. But it's again worth noting here that the 3s were equally said to have the potential to get stronger as they are given time to acclimate to their augmentations. This was also said when most of the Spartan 3s at the time were only 12 years old and immediately following their augmentations. Unfortunately, most of the Spartan 3's Alpha and Beta companies were entirely wiped out on their final missions, Operations Prometheus and Torpedo, respectively, so most of the first 2 classes never saw combat much beyond their initial augmentations. Gamma Company, however, were not sent on a singular suicide mission, but also had further complications to their augmentations that muddy the water on their long-term performance, in spite of still being operationally active following the close of the Human Covenant War. And finally, the Spartan 4s receive an as-of-yet unnamed Muscle Augmentation series. Muscles are subjected to induced muscular growth and injected with a material that allows them to work harder without breaking the Spartan's skeleton. These injections contain a protein complex and is injected intramuscularly. It targets the muscle's intracellular molecular machinery to help increase muscle strength and endurance. It is assumed this is achieved by utilizing a localized mutagenic compound which alters the muscle cells on a fundamental level. It's distinctly possible the myostatin inhibitor, follistatin, is used to some degree, or a newer, more advanced descendant of this chemical, leading to the muscles being able to grow bigger and stronger, faster. Subjects also undergo muscle grafting, which involves reshaping the muscles to be more mechanically efficient, alongside molecular techniques which join and bond smaller myofibril structures into larger singular cohesive muscle structures with proportionally higher output force. The augmentations also give them an enhanced muscle memory, which makes observing and learning combat techniques much easier. The specifics of the augmentation and its lasting effects aren't nearly as well understood as the other 2 classes of Spartans. There is much more room for interpretation, and description and lore coverage is significantly more sparse or vague. This complicates our estimations considerably. What we do know, however, is that the 4s are notably weaker than both their predecessors, owing in no small part to the decision to augment adults as opposed to preteens. The results of the Spartan 4's physical augmentations are not nearly as powerful or effective as those of the 2s and 3s. To compensate for this, the Gen 2 Mjolnir armour worn by the Spartan 4s is designed to multiply the wearer's strength and speed significantly more than first generation suits. At least in theory, this makes a Spartan 4 clad in Gen 2 armour equal to a Gen 1 wearing Spartan 2 in terms of strength and speed, but the Spartan 4 would be at a considerable disadvantage without armour. But we're not talking about the armour, so let's get back on track. Without solid information, or even information sufficient enough to infer performance characteristics of the 4s, we can only really go on the vagaries of first-hand accounts to give any real substance to the effects of the Spartan 4's augmentation. Case in point, during the book Bad Blood, whilst freefalling through the atmosphere of Cassidy 3, Spartan Buck doubted he'd survive hitting the ground even with his augmentations and armour, despite John 117 having survived a similar fall years earlier. Buck's reasoning was that while the Spartan 2s had been literally made to be invincible, the UNSC had figured out how to cut some costs by the time it got around to him, and his own augmentations didn't make him nearly as invincible. So comparing these 3 sets of muscle augmentations becomes a pretty clear-cut analysis at this point, with no solid figures on the Spartan 4's augmentations, and the only source speaking to their strength being that they pale in comparison to their predecessors. The Spartan 4 muscle augmentation, whilst powerful in comparison to normal humans, are nowhere near capable of pacing up to the 2s and 3s. The Spartan 2s have a 5% risk of fatal cardiac volume increase, basically a heart attack. To put this into perspective, for every 20 Spartans given this augmentation, 1 would develop the fatal condition. I'll leave you to choose whether that's worth the risk for the ability to lift 3/4 of a ton immediately following the surgery, and the likelihood being good that you'd only get stronger as time goes on. The Spartan 3s, while seemingly able to lift less than half a ton following augmentation, again has the potential to strengthen, and there is 0 risk of complications. The large difference in strength between the 2s and 3s is likely due to the age difference, with the 2s being 14 and the 3s being 12 at the time of the augments, the differing methods of augmentation, the differing targeting results of the augments, the cost reductions associated with the more dispensable nature of the S3 program, and a mild difference in height and weight class. Again, let me know what augmentation you'd be happy or comfortable to undergo in the comments down below, and until next time, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, consider hitting the subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't miss out on future videos. Be sure to like the video if you did, and pop a comment below on what you'd like me to cover next. I just want to take a moment to thank my patrons, Spartan 10148, the Metarch of my facility, Falcon, Sophia, Mikhail, Ashley, Jordan and Esoteric Sight, my dutiful monitors, Darian, Legion's Lost, Labrat, Spartan 0137, Jacob Kemp, Sean, Element Zero, J3, Mr. Keys, Gunslinger, Evermore, Personal Devil, Aldiaz, Toxic, Scion Esports, Gem, Saber and Relentless, my diligent sub-monitors, my fleet of Strato Sentinels, my loyal enforcers, and all other patrons who continue to support the channel. If you want your name on the end of the video and some perks earned along the way, head over to Patreon and consider supporting the channel yourself. Big shout out to my Tier 0 Transcendent YouTube members, Spartan 137, Jacob Kemp, Talia, Fenrir, Bornstella, Jimbo and Balaz, and all the other YouTube members keeping my installation running on that glorious vacuum energy, with a special mention to the Accursed Hunter. Shout out to John due to the mathematical formula used to determine the area within a pentadodecahedron. Oh, and Lena because that sandwich. And remember, there are tons of ways to support the channel and keep my installation pumping out content at a breakneck speed. Much love to you all, take it easy everyone, and find peace in the domain.